Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Undercut podcast. This is the US Grand Prix edition. That was one of the weekends which we didn't really get to follow because of the time difference. But hey, we've heard that it was a great race. We've possibly tried and researched on everything that went along in the race. So come on, tune in, and as we guide you through every single thing that happened in the race. Nitish, on to you, mate. We start with the sprint.
Sprint. It was great. First of all, I think that was one of the most exciting and entertaining sprints there is because it was a short format race, obviously, and the amount of drama you could possibly get is unbelievable. It's like watching a football game, but only the highlights.
Mhm.
Every single lap, there was something going on, and Carlos Sainz, oh good lord, next season I hope he does the same stuff at Williams too next year because Sprint, oh God, he cooked. He genuinely cooked. Every possible mistake his opponent made, he made sure to make the most of it. And also another positive, another really, really happy side was to see Max Verstappen, I think, back on the top step. Uh Ferrari though, sure, no one expects Ferrari to do bad, but then nobody expected them to do this well as well. So that was interesting. Before I get on to the other Red Bull, I'll let Pranav give your take on it too.
Yeah, so I mean, the sprint was absolutely class, firstly. Of course, Verstappen looked like the Verstappen at the start of the season, where the Red Bull was really strong and actually building a gap to the McLaren in quite a while. Of course, there was this one point of the race where I thought Lando was maybe catching up to Max, but no, Max had it totally under control. Yeah, then of course that last lap camaraderie of Lando losing second place, almost third to Leclerc, but he held on somehow. And yeah, that was really cool. Of course, and in the session prior to that, the sprint qualifying, we had a shock from Oscar Piastri, who actually had a really weak weekend this time, honestly. It was a really quiet weekend for him, all in all. Yeah, and the McLarens did not look as dominant as they should have, to be honest, because Max built a lead to Lando. I think the gap is currently at 57 points or so. Yeah, one hell of a weekend. What can I say? And unfortunately, we missed it. Again, and then of course there were some star performers of this race. One being Lewis Hamilton. Not that went horribly. We'll get onto that later. But in all honesty, though, Franco, I think the pressure of finally having a good teammate is catching up to Alexander Albon, and Franco is doing as well as the person who he looks like, or at least who we think he looks like, Ayrton Senna. Um, and of course, the other person, who's he? I forget his name. Liam Lawson. Liam Lawson. In a weekend where Daniel Ricciardo is supposed to be the attractor of fans, Liam Lawson comes in and smokes Yuki Tsunoda. What a drive! That P9 finish was, yeah, almost like you could have written it better for Liam Lawson. And if he does continue this trend, who knows? Red Bull. Yeah, we'll get onto that later. Nitish, on to you, mate. Qualifying,
Speaking of,
please. Yeah.
before we get into qualifying, see, we make sure the respect is given where it is due, but then we also have to criticize where it is required. A really interesting scenario. I've only watched the sprint, and for speaking of Red Bull, I think we do give respect where it is due, but then we must criticize where it is required. And I've only watched the sprint this weekend because of the timings. But then there was a really interesting incident which took place in during the sprint. It was two Red Bull cars competing against each other, fighting very closely, except for the fact that one of them was Red Bull and the other one was its junior team, driven by Yuki Tsunoda. And Yuki Tsunoda even overtook Checo, if not for the better traction which Checo got. And come on. I mean, you remove Danny Rick and replace him with Liam Lawson, which is a pretty fair decision. And he's also shown that, you know, he could be a better replace. He could be like the Franco Colapinto for uh, Visa Cash App, or as Alonso calls it, Alpha Tauri.
Yeah.
But Checo, I don't know what's going on. I mean, did
Yeah.
he probably finished this. He's just okay. See, I'm not hating on Checo, but then he definitely has to improve. I genuinely don't mind the junior team drivers replacing Checo because put in a Red Bull. Max Verstappen, he came back to the top. He fought on par with Lando even during the race. With that kind of a car, you cannot be putting up P7s and P8s, fighting with your junior team drivers, almost losing a place to him and still expect to have the seat. I don't care how much money he's getting.
Yeah.
That's something. And then pretty much it. Charles Leclerc, even though he did perform really well, I think we're not talking about him enough, but then we'll get to that when we're speaking on the race. On to you.
Yeah. As you said, that's really been the story of Checo throughout this 2024 season. Just under delivering all the time. Let's hope for his sake. At his home race this week, he hopefully has a better showing. Not unlike last time around, where I remember he shafted into Charles and like got on the first lap. Yeah, that was bad for Checo fans. But yeah, at least for his sake, let's hope he does well. And on to qualifying, yeah, this is where it gets bad for me. Lewis Hamilton slots in a P19 right next to his former teammate Valtteri Bottas, who is driving a Formula B car right now. Yeah, that
Hmm.
was, I don't even know how to put it because on sprint qualifying day, you could have arguably Lewis should have been on pole if not for that Colapinto crash. He was 4 tenths up on the lap. Should have been able to take pole from Verstappen, but hey, hindsight's a beautiful thing. And yeah, that's pretty much where his weekend ended, honestly. Like there was nothing much after that. And as for the how the rest of the qualifying went, Lando described it as possibly his most beautiful lap ever in qualifying. And arguably so. That was a great lap, but again, Osama bin Russell came into action and robbed Max of his pole. Yeah, that was pretty George-like. Yeah. No one likes him, but like, at least I don't. Yeah. Wait, do you like George?
I mean, I don't mind him. He's like a character, you get what I mean?
Like, in what sense though?
What sense? He's just a unique guy. Sometimes he gets unlucky, sometimes he's lucky, sometimes he's wild, sometimes he's nice.
Oh,
He's
okay.
just,
You know what? I'll give that to you. That's fair. That's fair. So yeah, and then because George crashed in qualifying, he had to start from the pit lane, and he put up a really mega drive on Sunday to actually finish up P6. And as for the Ferraris, they had pretty mediocre by their standards qualifying when compared to how their race went, which is absolutely brilliant because it was completely unexpected. And yeah, I guess that pretty much sums up qualifying. I mean, I really want to forget this weekend. Let's just put it that way. Onto the race, mate. Onto the race.
I mean, don't, I mean, this time, okay, I'm genuinely saying it. I don't think Lando had a bad start. It was the corner is just too fat, to be honest.
It is.
The number of cars which could fit in that corner is the only reason I feel Lando lost a few places this season. But I mean, this race, but well played to Ferrari. I mean, Carl. I mean, okay, fine. Leclerc won, but then Carlos Sainz genuinely, I'd say he got back because Leclerc has been cooking for the past few weekends. Whereas Carlos Sainz, it was becoming clear that Leclerc was the better driver. But this was one of those, weekends where Carlos Sainz showed that he's also not too far off behind.
Yes.
And Verstappen and Norris being close was a good thing.
Hmm.
I mean, at least for the people hoping for Max to win. And fair play. I mean, the overtake, yeah, I think the penalty is fair.
Hmm.
when you look
Okay.
at it, but controversial again. But then
Yeah,
that's
now
like,
now this is fun because you think it was fair, but I think it was unfair.
I mean, you
Yeah.
knew it. It was coming. It was coming. When you're taking the risk, you obviously know Max Verstappen's going to try and do that. Like,
Yeah, you're not wrong. It kind of gives me Brazil 21 vibes where Lewis goes for the overtake on the corner and then they both end up going wide. So it gives me that kind of vibe. But in this case, Lando actually ended up overtaking Verstappen. So that's where I felt that may have pushed the FIA to maybe, slightly lean towards Max's side. But I think the penalty was unfair because Max kind of did gain an advantage too. Because after that whole camaraderie happened, like let's be honest, like Max sort of, yeah, that penalty was coming. Like it's, how do I put this? I need to actually relate this with like a previous example. Yeah, for the Lewis example, for instance, in Brazil, the only reason Lewis didn't get a penalty there was because he couldn't complete the overtake. But both the drivers were still off the racing line. Similarly, Max defended hard, pushed Lando off track, and Lando, okay, maybe didn't have the right to overtake, but at least they'd have a chance to fight back. So if that overtake is not justified, then it's either a case of both getting penalties or both not getting penalties. That's my opinion on it. What's yours?
I mean, look, you said that the only reason Lewis didn't get a penalty was because he couldn't complete the overtake. I mean, that is fair. He couldn't complete the overtake. He didn't get an advantage from going off track. In this scenario, when Lando was going for it is expected that Max would go as deep as possible to try to block him off.
Yeah, but
Lando could have
he's
done two things:
yeah.
compromise and slow down and try to fight back later, or go for it regardless. And then when you go off track, even Max Verstappen was slightly off track, but then overtaking it and overtaking it, he was legit. He was all four wheels off the track, comes in front of him and continues as if nothing ever happened. Because see, Lando was he was a few seconds ahead at the end of the race. So technically speaking, if he had just given the place back, there was still a chance that he could have overtaken him. But then right now it's a clear overtake off track, and by simple rules, I think like it's subjective, but still like
Yeah, it is subjective, but I feel like the the circumstances which preceded the overtake itself played a bigger role in this case because firstly, both of them going off track, and you could possibly argue that Max sort of drove him off track. And that's Max. Like, I'm not complaining. Like, he is a bit aggressive. He will kill or get killed just to win. So yeah, Max is that kind of character, and I expect him to defend a bit hard, but like, hey, so you're telling me you drove me off track, but I can't overtake you. Yeah, let's like recalibrate that. Yeah.
if Lewis tried to defend Max like that,
Lewis wouldn't defend
this
Max like that. That's the whole point.
see, I would go deep. I would try my best to make sure he's behind me.
Yeah, I
Because
would
see,
go. Yeah.
if you didn't want to get driven off track, try another corner. Don't commit this corner. He could try another corner, but then he wanted it that particular corner.
Wait,
Both of them went for it.
which lap did this occur on? The last lap, right? Or the second last lap?
Now I was talking about the like no, he gets the penalty a few laps later, so it was a few laps before the last lap.
Yeah, oh yeah, right. Yeah, that's fair. Hmm. Okay, yeah. Well, okay, yeah, that
But
that makes that
yeah,
makes sense. Yeah, opposing views. So now you guys have like both sides of the coin. So yeah, up to you
mm,
guys. Anyways, and of course, now coming on to the Scuderia, what a weekend for them. Not necessarily the best weekend in terms of performance, but yeah, it sure as hell was in terms of the result. A second 1-2 in the year. Um, One after Australia, if I'm not wrong, where Carlos Sainz won that race, and this time the roles were reversed. But anywho, that was a great result for the Scuderia. But like, we were just discussing before, like how this Ferrari win didn't get as much hype as the previous ones did, because even though because it was unexpected, you'd expect it to get more hype because, well, it just came out of the blue. But somehow it didn't. What are your thoughts behind why did that not happen?
Okay, first off, I mean, it's been a while. Second off, you'd expect any team to perform well if they say that they have something coming up for this weekend, which
Mhm.
I don't think Ferrari really
Yeah, they didn't
told or
publicize it.
really, yeah, really
Mercedes did,
publicized
and
or
look how
anything
that ended.
in the gravel, but
Oh no.
okay. But then it's just even I mean, the surprising fact was that even after the sprint, where it was not really Ferrari cooking with the pace, but then with the pure skill of the drivers. Again, yeah. See, another thing I believe is that the sprint, I don't think you can say any car was clearly the fastest,
Mhm.
but then the way Carlos and Leclerc did it, it just looked skillful. You get what I mean?
I get what you mean. Yeah,
So
it
if you
was.
look at that, I wouldn't say that that's the best team, but then those two look like the best drivers in the sprint.
Oh, okay. So this is that case where the driver is better than the car or like outperform the car, that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
outperform the car.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
even during the race, I'd expect some boring, Lando, Max, the casual old thing, because Max
yeah.
looked decently strong during the sprint with the car.
Mm-hmm.
Again, skill, turn one, both of them. It's like they did everything together as a freaking team. So well played. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
Ferrari and it didn't get hype. You know that it's just something not often.
yeah.
That's not something you get often.
Yeah, but then you look at it from Ferrari's perspective, and the fact that it's not being hyped might actually be a good thing. I'll tell you why. Because like when teams dominate, it becomes the norm to like, hey, you know what? It's a great weekend. Pack it up. Let's move on next weekend. So if that's really becoming the trend for Ferrari, yeah, they should sure as hell be happy with it. And yeah, I guess that pretty much sums up the race, the
Oh,
whole
and
weekend.
we got one point. This man right behind me. Oh shit, I'm turning the
Oh,
wrong side. The man
Franco
behind.
Colapinto.
So on Sunday there were two games, two sports which I had to watch.
Oh yeah,
One was in the Premier League against Wolves versus Man City, and one was in F1. And well, my team got more points in F1 than it did in the Premier League.
yeah.
Kind of
Uh,
sad, but yeah,
Wait,
this
care to
man.
share how much points did Wolves get against City in that match? I don't quite remember.
Uh, the surprising fact is Colapinto scored the same number of points as Wolves this entire Premier League season in just this race.
That's a good point. That's a good point. How did
Uh,
that feel? How did that feel, mate? How did that feel?
I mean, it's bittersweet, I guess.
Yeah, it is.
Oh
Um,
God.
but hey, yeah, we can't do anything. We're just the best team in the Prem's, bro. Johnny Stones with that banger at the end of the at the end of the match. Yeah, you couldn't have written it better. Final thoughts, Nitish, before we head into Mexico this week.
Uh, I hope Checo performs, otherwise I'm gonna continue shit talking him.
Yeah, well, that's one way to put it. Likewise, I would probably want Checo to perform a bit better, at least a top five finish for his sake. Because uh, has Checo ever finished on the podium at Mexico? No, he has. He has. 2021,
Yeah.
if I'm not wrong. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he
Yeah, then
definitely
that's
has.
fair. Then that's fair. Okay, but like, yeah, for his sake, yeah, I really want Checo. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna tell it right now. I'm backing Checo to win Mexico. Hot take.
Check to win. Hold once, just give me a second.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Wait. What you said? Checo hot take. Okay,
Checo
fine.
to win.
Okay,
Yeah, so
three,
I'm
two, one. Yeah.
yeah, so I think I'm backing Checo to win this race because yeah, I just get the vibes, man. I really don't know why. Like F1's been so unpredictable lately, and yeah, I don't think a Checo win is even on the back of anyone's minds right now, but it just suddenly popped into my mind and I'm like, you know what? Hey, what's the worst that could happen? He gets like DNF'd, finishes P20. But like, I don't know. I just get the vibes. Like you really can't argue against the vibes, can you?
I mean, I wouldn't mind a Red Bull 1-2. Like,
No, I would mind a Red Bull 1-2. I just don't mind Checo winning.
oh, you would mind a Red Bull 1-2. Okay.
Yeah, why would I want Max to finish second? I still want a close championship fight. Like, I want, I'm wishing for a Max DNF so that the points get like literally halved and Lando takes the race in which Max gets DNF'd. I hope that Lando wins that race with the fastest lap point. Like, that's, yeah,
I
obviously.
hope Liam
Don't you
Law.
want
I
to see
hope.
a close title fight at the end? Imagine it goes down to the wire at Abu Dhabi and you're essentially a bit more inclined towards Max, but like at
No,
the
I
yes,
wouldn't mind a close fight because
yeah, exactly. So if you're watching it as a non-biased F1 fan, at least between those two drivers, it's all calm. Like it'll be pretty fun to watch.
sure,
Hey, come on. For the fans, for F1, come on. Yeah.
fair play, fair play. Even
All right.
Vettel said the same thing. So if Vettel says it, I guess I'm gonna follow it.
Yeah, you should. All right, guys, I guess that wraps it up. We'll see you in Mexico. Hopefully Checo doesn't bottle it. Peace.
Peace.